Welcome to Spiritual Dialogue with Father Udon de Castro. We are here at Cariana Lay Monastic Community. I'm your host, Brother Lodi, and with us is Sister Tachi.
Yes, Father, you are going to continue what we were discussing the episode before.
Yes, we are discussing basic things which are problems in the Catholic Church. And we see that this problem is not being solved. You have Bishop Synod and seminars being held left and right on the new evangelization. And yet this is so simple because it is described in one very short chapter in the Gospel of St. Matthew. It is so short, it's not even one page. And so how come they do not know this? We have seen in the Gospel that Christ was the best preacher, of course. And in spite of the fact that he was the best preacher and teaching the right things, the crowd was divided into two. Those who believe and those who do not believe, who did not believe, even if they have the best preacher. How much more if the preacher is bad?
Yes.
So what do you expect from the crowd? Probably nobody will believe.
Yes, Father.
Because with Christ, at least some believe, some did not believe, but some believe. But if the preacher is bad, there might be no one who would believe. And that's what's happening today. The problem is that our preachers, our bishops and priests are not qualified. Not qualified basing it on the Gospels of the liturgy of the Mass.
And this preaching, wrong preaching, will lead you to wrong belief.
Of course, yeah. Not wrong belief. You will not believe the truth. And the big danger is when you don't believe in the truth, you will believe anything.
That would be the result.
Well, that's a disaster. You will believe anything. Errors, heresy, and so on. You will believe everything that you hear. And that's what we were discussing last time, that we just finished a seminar on new evangelization here in the Philippines. And so far, the two speakers whose videos can be seen in the internet, none of them discuss these two most important elements of new evangelization, which is a qualified preacher and a well-disposed listener. They did not discuss that. And I don't blame them, because even Pope Francis has been forbidding us to evangelize.
Why? Father?
Well, you have to ask him. I don't know why. He has forbidden evangelization. He says it is the silliest thing in the whole world. He had a friend, Tony Parker, who wanted to be a Catholic, and he said, don't. He prevented him from becoming a Catholic, so he remained an Anglican and died an Anglican because Pope Francis forbade him to be a Catholic, which means he's really following his teaching not to evangelize. But the only way to save soul is to evangelize.
Yes, that was the intention of Pope Benedict, new evangelization.
And Pope John Paul II.
Yes.
And most probably, our bishops and priests are following his example, or they are obeying his suggestion not to evangelize. He, in fact, Pope Francis, forbade any people from other religions from living their own religion because he is insinuating that they can be saved in their own non-Catholic religion, in their own pagan religion.
I read something, Father. Pope Benedict says evangelization must first be in the church, in the Catholic Church. How come you are not allowing
The Pope, you
to
mean?
evangelize?
Well, actually, evangelization is not should not be within the Catholic Church, because when you say Catholic, that means they are already
Evangelized.
evangelized. You know.
Okay.
So Pope Francis was actually insisting that we should not convince people
come.
outside the Catholic Church to enter the Catholic Church. In fact, he's telling bad Catholics not to become good Catholics. In his latest apostolic exhortation, Cor Orans, that's the title, Cor Orans, the praying heart. He was actually telling Carmelite nuns not to be too holy.
But they're supposed to be holy. That's the main reason why they entered the Carmelite nuns.
Well, if he says don't evangelize, which is to be holy,
Yeah.
well, he is in the right track,
In that direction.
in the same direction. He was telling the Carmelite nuns not to be holy. Because evangelization is for me to teach you how to be holy.
So
And
this is
so-
the exact
yeah.
opposite, Father. Huh? This is the way to
Which
go to.
one?
It's not the way to go to heaven. It's the way to go to hell.
Well, it is. That's why the Carmelite nuns are all in an uproar, you know. They're asking, "Hey, what's this all about? You know, we became nuns to become holy." And, well, he didn't say it in those words. But the document is precisely preventing them to be contemplatives, to pray unceasingly, or to be very holy, which is the perfection of charity. So, in other words, here is a pope who is telling nuns not even to have faith and not to have the beginnings of charity, both of which is required for salvation.
Sorry, Father, I can only conclude that Pope Francis did not fully understand the reason behind this new evangelization.
Well,
That's my
yeah. Let's go briefly to the parable of the hidden treasure.
yes, Father.
If you remember that, there was a hidden treasure, a man found a hidden, it's hidden
Hidden in the field.
in a field. The field is the world.
Yeah.
And the hidden treasure is the preaching of the gospel.
Okay.
So, this treasure, the preaching of the gospel, is in the world. It's in the world. It is.
Yes,
It's being preached all over the world. But it's hidden. Meaning to say, it's preached in the world, but people don't understand it. That preachers cannot explain it well, and listeners do not understand it. So it's hidden from both.
That's bad, Father.
Well, let's see why it is hidden. It's hidden because the man who found the hidden treasure saw that it was a treasure. Treasure.
Yeah.
It was not something ordinary. It's a treasure. And people do not consider the gospel teaching treasures. For them, treasure is a good job, a good reputation, you know, lots of money and so on, lots of friends. That's treasure for them. The gospel is not treasure at all. However, this man who found the treasure, considered it a treasure, he hid it. And many people are asked how come he hid it. And the reason he hid it is because as long as it is not yours, it can be stolen by anybody, especially by the devil. It can be stolen.
Yes.
It's not just
So you
yours.
have to keep it secret in your mind and in your heart. Mary puts it in the words, treasuring it in your heart. And that's why you have to treasure it in solitude and in silence. That's how to keep it. That's how to hide it. If you're talkative, it will come out.
But they said that truth should be out and teach, evangelize people so that they will understand, they will love God, they must have faith God.
Later on, when you own it,
Not yet.
when you have bought the field and the treasure, okay, now you can spread it. But as long as it is not yet yours, hide it, and then he did something.
Now I understand what Pope Benedict said. Don't run away from the world. You challenge the world. As long as you have it in your heart,
When you
that
have
is the
it.
time you
Yeah.
can challenge the world. Now I understand. Thank you, Father.
So the point is, you have to buy it, to own it. And so the man went home and sold all his things
Yes, Father.
and then bought the field.
Yes.
Now, this idea of going home and selling all things has to be interpreted according to the Old Testament, which is physical. Get rid of your home, your money, etc. But it must be interpreted also spiritually or mystically, as St. Thomas of Aquinas would say it.
What's that, Father?
In other words, all the desires of the mind and the heart, which are not in accordance to the mind and the heart of God, give it up. That's hard. That's hard.
Yes, it's really difficult, Father.
Because that is, in effect, poverty, chastity, and obedience. So you have to practice those three.
My God.
That's the price to pay to own the treasure.
I have read these things, Father, but I find it so difficult. I don't have it in my heart.
So the question is, are our bishops and priests paying the price? And since most of the priests and the bishops are diocesan,
They're not. Okay.
they are not observing the evangelical counsel, especially poverty.
Chastity and good work.
And because they are not observing poverty, they cannot possess the treasure,
Yeah.
which is the life of the gospel. That's why they cannot explain it. And you
Yes,
do not understand it because you also have not practiced it, you have not paid the price. So you cannot own it. It's still there in the field, it's still there in the world, but you cannot own it because you have not paid the price. Did you notice the price? It's not so much knowing the Gospels. It's not that.
it is like changing your mind to a Christ-like consciousness, Christ-like mind.
Yeah, but you begin with the physical, the Old Testament.
God,
Unless you give up all your possessions, you will always do what you want. As long as you have money, you will always buy what you want. As long as you have no superior, you will just go about doing what you want.
But we need something to buy something for our existence, Father. They might ask.
Yeah, of course, that's a longer explanation, but yeah, you can really work and earn and buy and eat. You can do all those things, but
The intention.
yeah, the intention, yeah. You must not be attached to it, as St. Thomas would say. Don't be attached to it, because that will prevent you from being able to buy
Hidden.
the field that contains the hidden treasure. So you see, the solution to the problem of unqualified preachers is so easy. They should buy the field with the hidden treasure. Because their fault is they do not have the hidden treasure. Because they have not
not
paid the
bought it.
price.
My God, Father. Sorry, Father.
They don't realize it.
They don't realize it.
That's
Everybody
a,
thinks
that's a tragic thing.
just because they went to a seminary or graduate of Louvain or Bologna, they think they know the gospel. They don't know. The gospel is the hidden treasure, the true meaning, explanation, and understanding of the gospel is the hidden treasure.
We have only 1 minute, Father.
And you have to buy it.
Yes.
And there is a price. And you have to pay the price.
Some people might ask, how do we buy this treasure in the field?
Yeah, she
There,
said
we-
it
we
already.
just mentioned.
We just
Yeah.
mentioned the three.
To give up,
Give up the things that the human desire.
St. Thomas describes that give up the 3 levels of self-denial, or put into practice the 3 levels of self-denial. Because Christ said,
Yeah.
deny yourself.
What are these three, Father?
The first level is material things.
Material things.
Second is human affection and relationship. That's why Christ says, if you love parents more than me, you are
Yes,
not
Father.
worthy of me. And thirdly, your will. You give up your will.
So it must be the will of the divine.
What you will, what you like,
What
you
you
give
like.
out what you like.
Yeah.
But you can like good things, like you should like to go to heaven.
That's,
Personally, I'd like to thank you, Father. I learned so many things about your explanation about these things. And thank you very much for watching a spiritual dialogue with Father Udon de Castro. You will learn more about the things that we must learn, like the treasure in the field. Thank you very much. Next episode, Father will continue discussing these things to save our souls. Thank you.
Hosanna, Hosanna.